All right, it's finally time we start talking about mixing. So what is mixing? Well, mixing is basically when you take multiple tracks and blend them together. The process of blending those tracks into a single musical composition, a single recording, and making the song sound the best it possibly can, that's what mixing is. Mixing is this blending process, and we use a whole bunch of tools to accomplish it. It's kind of like the second half of producing your own music. You have to start with a composition. So this is where you're using MIDI and loops and recording and editing your tracks and all this kind of stuff. Once that's done, or maybe even in the midst of that too, we engage in this other process called mixing, where we're more concerned with how the tracks sound more than like what are the actual notes. The notes are done now. We've decided on what chords we're playing, what bass lines, and so on. Now it's about how good can we make all that sound, and that's where mixing comes in. So mixing is a huge topic. There's so much to it, and there's so much you can do, but we're going to start with just the basics, all the intricacies of standard mixing procedure until we have a good picture of how to get the best sound we can. So when we start mixing, there's a whole bunch of tools that we can use to change the sound of our tracks or to blend them together in a smooth way. So the first things would be just volume, and panning. So volume, of course, is how loud something is, and panning is going left to right or side to side. Then we have these time-based effects that work over time, such as reverb and delay. These give a spatial sense, a sense of space or ambience to our recordings, and kind of make everything sit well together, even though they might have been recorded in different places, or you're playing some synth instruments and some loops. Using these ideas of reverb and delay, we can blend those things and make them sound more like they belong together. Then we have some tools that deal with tone modification. That means the actual tone of the sound. It's what they call timbre, its inherent quality, how it really sounds, how each note sounds when it's played. We can adjust the tone of the instrument through a variety of tools, mainly being EQ, equalization, or through modulation sort of effects like flangers, phasers, chorusing, that sort of thing. And then we can also use distortion and saturation, which we will learn about in the future, to even further enhance the sound or modify it in certain ways to shape the tone the way we want it. Lastly, we often deal with dynamics. And dynamics is dealing with volume, but dealing with volume within the track. So not like the volume of the whole track altogether, but how do different parts of the same track relate to each other in terms of volume? How loud is the loudest part compared to how quiet is the quietest part? That is the dynamics of the track, the difference between the soft and the loud parts. And we use something called a compressor to deal with that. And that's going to become a very important part of mixing in the future. For now, we're not going to touch it. For now, all we're worried about are the time-based effects. That is the reverb and the delay. In the next few videos, we're going to start talking about reverb and delay in a more in-depth way and learn how to use them inside Studio One, and then we're going to mix our song using these techniques along with volume and panning.